Hey guys, what's up? It's just Connor here. Hope you have an amazing day. In today's video, we're going to be talking about why your circle is probably holding you back, probably keeping you broke, and probably keeping you unsuccessful. And I say probably because, I'm making some assumptions here, but like 90 to 95% of you it's going to be relating to. And of course, if they're not doing it already, they may potentially in the future. Right? My idea of this video is to help you prepare for that, or also understand how to handle it in the future and why it is important to surround yourself with the right people if you really want to be where you want to be, right? You want to get to where you want to go, okay? So if you're watching this video, right, you're probably looking into online business or high ticket sales, considering that's the theme of my channel and what I talk about all the time. And of course, what I do, right? I help people transition out of 9 to 5s to remote sales, right? And do it the right way, right? Not in this hypey, make 10K a month overnight type way. But with that said, let's kind of dive in. So the reason I'm making these videos again is to prepare anyone, right? There might be 5 to 30 people that watch this video that if they are better prepared for this situation in the near future, then perfect, right? That's all that I really need. And, for me to experience this 4 years ago, it was really hard to understand. It was really hard to navigate because typically the whole time I was alone, right? And I wasn't really surrounded by a community of people that really could kind of tell me what was happening. So hopefully you get some insights from this, okay? So why your circle is probably hurting you or keeping you broke, right? Holding you back from success. I'm going to talk through my experience. I'm going to give you some practical steps you can take away. So some tangible things that you can use in the future or currently now if you are experiencing this. So stick to the end to make sure you watch around for those, right? So first, I'm going to give some context with my experience, okay? So in Australia, right, there's a thing called tall poppy syndrome, right, where different to, the US, right, United States type culture, it's more like hustle mindset over there. It's very supported, start your own business. It's very encouraged. Whereas in Australia, if you're watching this in Australian, you can probably relate, is we have something called tall poppy syndrome, where the person that rises above the rest typically is going to, be cut down, right? People are going to project at you. They're going to be very insecure. They're going to talk behind your back, right? Because usually a lot of the times, I think in my opinion, Australia is a very laid back culture, right? So when someone's doing something that's different, as with any culture, different than the masses, right? People will try to pull you down. And in my experience, just to give you a pre-warning, it is not fun, right? Your friends will not understand, right? Your family will not understand, right? And I'm going to talk about both of those here in a second, but my family obviously supports me now, great, because they see the results and they see that they actually understand over time a little bit about what I'm doing, right? But back then, when I first got started, they absolutely didn't support me, which is going to happen, right? It's most likely going to happen for you, right? Your parents will probably want the best for you, right? They will want, the best future. They've paid for all your bills, like your entire childhood. They've brought you up. They've brought you into this world, so they want to take care of you. But the thing is, it's really, really important to understand. If your parents are not where you want to be, you cannot listen to them. You can take their advice, right? You can listen to them, right? But don't implement, what they're telling you, or feel afraid if you're not implementing what they're telling you to, considering they are not where you want to be. If they are, then cool, listen to them. But if not, then be very careful of who you take advice from, and that goes for your friends as well, is that they're not going to support you in the beginning. In fact, sometimes they may not even at all, right? They're going to say, why don't you like the old Connor? Why don't you come out every single weekend? Why don't you do drinking? Why don't you do drugs? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? Right? You're going to be shunned, right? You're going to be shamed, right? And the big thing is, if you're not surrounded by the right communities, you're going to have your friends that are, kind of shame you for doing what you're doing. I had a situation at work where I had a discussion with one of the guys I was working with about what I was doing. And that word got round, and one of the other guys I used to work with came up to me and said, how's your pyramid scheme going? How's your scamming going, right? It is what it is. People will try to project onto you and try and pull you down for trying to do something different, right? Now, even something as simple as online sales is a very hard concept for people to understand, right? Hence why I have so many YouTube videos on my channel explaining this extensively, because it's a very, very hard thing to wrap your head around, right? It's very, very hard for the general masses to wrap your head around that you can make a doctor's salary in less than a year of experience of sales, right? It's only a very new thing. It's only happened very recently in the past couple of years. It's a very new opportunity, right? And so people don't understand that, so they are going to pull you down. Your friends aren't going to understand you, right? You might lose a relationship, right? Just as I did. I lost a 4-year relationship because, again, the growth was slowly just happening day by day. I was growing as a person, personal development. I was just obsessed, right? I was just obsessed with what I was doing with sales, right? And so at the end of the day, right, you may lose relationships. You may have your parents not support you. You may have friends who will try and pull you down. You may lose some friends, right? And you have to be, I guess you have to understand, what are you willing to sacrifice to get to where you want to go? It's what I always come back to. And so in my experience, people are going to throw stones. People are going to shame you. People are going to make fun of you, right? Because what you're doing, as I mentioned before, is you're taking something that you've created up here, right, that doesn't exist yet, and you're bringing it into the physical reality, right? Which is, again, you're doing something that is not what people consider to be true at the current time. So of course they're going to throw judgments, and of course they're going to shame you, they're going to shun you, right? But you have to be ready and okay with that, right? So just from my experiences, just thought I had something to share, just in general. For someone that might be watching this, it's normal, it's okay, it's going to happen. But the best thing that you can do to hedge against this is find a community of people that are trying to do what you're trying to do, or already where you want to be, right? That way you can have people that you can talk to about what you're going through, right? And you can actually have people that support you, right? Which is really, really key. So there's some real key tangible steps that I do want to share with you that, again, that are really, really important. And that's all around exposure, environment, and habits, okay? So coming back to why your circle is preventing you from where you want to be, is number one is exposure, right? Exposure is really, really key, and not many people actually talk about this. If you're surrounded by people that make $4,000 a month and they all do traditional pathways, or they go study at college, what are you going to do? You're going to do the same as them because you believe that that is the traditional path. You believe that is the norm, right? So you're going to follow the path of others, right? You're going to follow the path of what everyone else is doing, right? You're going to conform to one path. Whereas exposure comes in where you see people that can actually make 10K a month, right? 18-year-olds, 17-year-olds, 19-year-olds with almost less than a couple months experience that are absolutely crushing it, right? The more that you see proof of concept of people actually doing things, and the more that you surround yourself with people that are actually doing the things that you want to do, you're going to be exposed to what is actually possible, right? Now, if your circle is, drinking every weekend, doing drugs, right, going out, right, doing degenerate activities all the time, right? There's a place and a time for these things, absolutely. Everybody loves to have fun. But, if you are surrounded by people that do this on the weekly, and they're escaping from their jobs, and, they're week to week, you're going to be the same. Right, it's the same saying that goes. It's very, very cliche, but it's you're the mean or the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with, right? Super, super critical and key. Is so true. I've found that through the past 4 years, every person that I've surrounded myself most often, right, that I spend the most time with, is someone who is where I want to be, or who's much, much, much farther than where I want to be, right? Because what this does is, again, exposes you to new levels of awareness of what you can actually have feasible as possible, right? Hoping that's making sense. Now, the second thing is your environment. It kind of really, dictates your habits as well. So I'll kind of blend these 2 points together here. Your environment, if you're surrounded by people who, again, don't go to the gym, eat like shit, go out all the time, they chat about people, they have constant drama, they have all these surrounding bad habits, right? They drink every weekend, they do drugs, whatever it is, whatever that might be, for you, you're going to be the product of your environment. And that's why personally I had to isolate myself for a long time, because I've been doing this since a young age. I've been doing this since 18. Not a lot of 18-year-olds, right, where I'm from, very small town in Tasmania, beneath Australia, actually want to do what I was doing. So I had to isolate myself, right? It was very lonely. It really was. And there's a difference between being alone and lonely. And I truly was lonely because I had to isolate myself And I had to really, really work hard and be persistent and consistent when I wasn't getting results, right? It was really, really, really tough. So again, if you're surrounding yourself by a community, like for example, the guys in the Remote Sales Academy, right? You're able to be surrounded by an environment, even if it's virtually, it doesn't even have to be physically, virtually, people who are winners, right? Who want to get after it, right? You're going to rise to that level of expectation, right? Exposure shows you what's possible. Your environment is what keeps you there, right? I got two really, really successful agency owners over in Melbourne, right? That I constantly see, right? Solid dudes. They always keep each other accountable. Their environment is just those two guys, right? They obviously work with a lot of online entrepreneurs in Melbourne as well. But more specifically, what I found is, again, they're constantly keeping each other accountable. I see on their stories every single day that they're rocking up the gym at 4:30 in the morning, right? If your circle isn't pushing you to do greater boundaries, isn't making you comfortable, isn't making you uncomfortable, then perhaps you might be surrounded by the wrong circle, right? Being comfortable is the breeding ground for mediocrity, right? And so if you're surrounded by people who are mediocre, who are average, you in yourself will be average, right? So you need to get around the right people, the right mentor, the right community, right? You need to be speaking to the right people to actually get to where you want to go. Otherwise, first, if you don't believe it's possible, second, if you don't have the habits to keep you there and the environment, you will stay stuck, right? Put it simply, right? So it's really, really important that you may not have to cut off friends completely. It's not what I'm saying here. What I'm saying is restrict your time with people in your life who hold you back, right? That's all that I ask. If you take one thing from this video is that, or two things really. If people aren't where you want to be, are giving you advice or giving you hate or trying to shame you or talking behind your back, don't give a fuck about what they're saying about you. Doesn't mean anything. They're not putting food on your table. They're not paying your bills. It does not matter, and you should not care. 2, restrict your time with people who no longer challenge you, level you up, or are on the journey you're on or where you want to be. Especially if you're watching these videos, like I mentioned earlier, you're probably looking to start an online business, or you're probably looking to get started in high ticket sales, right? This is a pursuit that can be lonely at times. It's why you need a community. It's why you need people to be surrounded by you. Just to kind of finish my point here on the video, is that I speak to guys all the time. They come to me and they say, oh, Connor, I've done this other training, I'm not getting results. Or they'll say, oh, Connor, I've been watching all these free videos and haven't got any results, right? It's really demotivating. Well, yeah, obviously, bro. Like, you're doing this by yourself. You're trying to figure it out on your own, right? Of course you're going to feel alone. Of course you're going to feel lonely, right? I was in a group of like a couple hundred people when I first started out. And even then I felt lonely because I felt like a lot of people in the community I couldn't quite relate to, right? A lot of people weren't as hungry as me. And I'm not just saying that to blow, smoke in my ass. Like, I really was the guy that got after it. I was the guy that got shit done. And that's really something that I really pride myself on in the Remote Sales Academy, as we only accept people in that are going to get after it, that are winners, right? That constantly show up, that add to the community, right? We're expanding every single week, but I'm constantly making sure that everybody's adding value. Everybody there is, that they need to be there, right? Long story short, okay? So with that said, guys, hopefully you got some key insights from the video. I know I was a little bit ranty. It's a little bit all over the place, but that's what this YouTube channel is about, right? So yeah, hopefully you got some valuable insights. Hopefully you learned something. Hopefully you can prepare for the future of, if this does happen and you're looking to pursue something in online entrepreneurship or just anything different from the masses at all. Or if you're currently going through this, hopefully you can share my experience and you can have a little bit more self-awareness of like, hey, this is okay. This is normal. This happens. And hopefully you can feel a little bit better about it, if that makes sense. Okay. So hopefully you're having an amazing day. Hopefully having an amazing week. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video.